looks like the other two are trying to come on. I'm going to get them in, and then we'll be underway.
All right.
All right. Okay, Scott?
Yeah.
Good morning to you. How are you? Is Billy there?
Yeah. Billy is with us.
And is Brad, are you still there? Or did I lose him? I might have lost Brad, so when he calls back in, I'll get him back on, because Brad was actually on with my first caller, my first guest, actually. So I tell you what, I think I lost him, and I know he'll dial back in, and then we'll get going. But good morning to both of you. I just had Brad, lost him, got you two back, because my first guest was hanging up at the time you were calling in. So I have Scott.
Good morning.
I have Scott and Billy here, right?
Scott and Billy on the phone with you.
All right, great. And as soon as I get Brad back, we'll get started. So I tell you what, in the meantime, let me do what I need to do in the 7 o'clock hour to change over and get Brad back. And then matter of fact, if one of you have Brad's number, just give him a call and tell him he dropped. I don't know if he knows it or not.
You got it. We'll take care of that.
Matter of fact, here he comes now. Never mind. I got him.
All right.
Brad?
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
Good. Scott?
I'm here.
Billy?
I'm here.
All right, that's like doing roll call in school. Okay, good. So we're going. So all right, here we go. We're gonna. I'll do what I need to do for the 7 o'clock hour, and we'll be underway.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Wake up Wednesdays at 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. for a midweek morning medley mix with B Fish.
Is that hump day? Is that hump day? That's what we do
exactly.
here. We try to pound that hump out. Yes, sir. Everyone's listening. Everyone across the country.
No. No. No, 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 no.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
You're still listening to Brave New Radio.
Skeletons speak with such.
Want to expand your horizons? Want to broaden your mind? Well, listen to the only show of...
3 gentlemen on the air with me who are educators on the East Coast. I believe all 3 are on the East Coast. Am I correct, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
We're all on the East Coast.
We're all on the East Coast. All right, so I had a West Coast guest in the 6 o'clock hour and my East Coast guest in the 7 o'clock hour. And ever since that we booked this and confirmed how we were going to do this format, I have been excited. And I'll tell you why. Because the 3 guests that I have on the air with me now, I almost feel like I know them because I see them on Twitter every Saturday morning. Well, usually while I'm on the air, I'm also on Twitter reading the feeds as they come through. And as an educator, I follow other educators. And they have something called Satchat. As a matter of fact, it's a hashtag SATCHAT, where various educators from across the country get together and they talk about educational issues. So I feel like I know Brad, Scott, and Billy because I see their face on Twitter and I see all the commentary that comes through from all the various principals and administrators from around the country. And Brad has written a book. And when I saw when Brad announced that his book was being published, I immediately reached out to him on Twitter and said, "Hey, Brad, you wrote a book. I'd love to have you on the show." And he agreed. And then he said, well, and I know they have Satchat, which is a bunch of folks. I said, see if your Satchat folks want to join in or at least listen in, because I know it's around at the same time that they usually meet on Saturday mornings. And he said, sure. So then he said, can Scott and Billy join the call too? I said, great. That makes it even better. So I have Brad Currie, I have Scott R. Rocco, and Billy Krakower on the line with me. We're going to talk a little bit about Brad's book, and we're also going to talk about stakeholder engagement. So Brad, Scott, and Billy, good morning again.
Good morning, Mark.
Okay, well, I tell you what, now this is the thing. Funny, oddly enough, something is crazy for me in radio in terms of I promote every show, but there are some shows I promote heavier than others because I know it's going to cause a larger listenership. And knowing that you all have Satchat and they all knew you were going to be on the air, this is pretty good potential that,
Dean of Students and Supervisor of Instruction for the Chester School District in Chester, New Jersey, a phenomenal school district with great parents, great students, and just a great school community. I've been in education for about 15 years now, and as you said before, just published a book for Corwin Press called All Hands on Deck, and it's a great book looking at stakeholder engagement, particularly in the virtual world. And there's a lot of inspiring stories out there, particularly with my fellow colleagues there, Billy and Scott, doing some great things in their district. I do mention them in my book, and I guess we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Scott?
Good morning, Mark. This is Scott Rocco. I'm the proud principal of Spotswood Public Schools. I'm also an adjunct faculty member at the College of New Jersey and an instructor at the NJ Excel program. I've been with Brad and Billy here on Satchat. We've been doing this since April of 2012, and it's kind of grown well beyond what our expectations were, and it's a great opportunity to connect with people like you and other people across the United States to talk about education in a positive and progressive manner. And hopefully we'll talk a little bit about what the Satchat model is and how we've been using that to encourage teachers to participate and become connected educators. Billy?
And I am a teacher in
a title in education than all hands on deck, because oddly enough, we constantly hear that cliche, it takes a village to raise a child. And that feeds into all hands on deck. So let's talk a little bit about where the concept come from, what made you put it pen to paper, and what your experience been like, and then we'll work our way right on into Satchat.
Yeah, so I've been a connected educator for about 3+ years now, and during that time, it's been a game changer for me professionally, and seeing all the wonderful things that are going on within schools around the world, and in particular, how schools and how districts and how classrooms are able to tell their stories and connect with parents and students and community members through technology and social media. And over the years, I've been paying attention to this, particularly on Twitter and through my social media networks. And I was presented with the opportunity, because of my connections on Twitter, by Peter DeWitt, who works for Core and Press. He contacted me last year and said, hey, you want to write a book for this Corwin Connected Educator series? It's about 7 or 8 books in the series, all connected educators writing about how using technology and social media can really benefit not only yourself as an educator professionally, but for students as well. And it all goes back to the kids. And so I wanted to share my insight, and also share the insight and strategies and tools of others who have also leverage the power of social media and technology to engage their stakeholders in the virtual world. And I think, I touch on this in the book, if you have strong human connections, real-life connections with your parents, community, teachers, and students, and you couple that with tools like Twitter and Facebook and Skype and Google Docs and things like that, it's a match made in heaven, and it can really do wonders for transparency and for telling your school story, and just doing whatever you can to make sure that your students are in a position to be successful each and every day.
You're absolutely right, and again, I love social media. It's funny, I don't really care for telephones, I don't really care for mail, but I do love social media because to me, like telephones, for me, are just intrusive in terms of I'm in the middle of something, the telephone rings, and it seems like it takes immediacy. So it's like that part. That's where telephones, and usually in the mail I get nothing but bills. So it's like, but in terms of social media, I'm saying all that in jest, by the way. In terms of social media, though, it has taken on a whole new role in our lives. And initially, when MySpace and all that kind of stuff came out, I said, that's just for the kids. I wasn't into it. But it dawned on me a few years ago, because I've been doing this show now 13 years, it dawned on me a few years ago, wait a minute, that's a wonderful avenue for promoting. So that's whenever I opened up a Facebook page and Twitter sites for the show. And then it dawned on me, well, you know what? I could also use this for the school. And so I opened up, as soon as I moved to the last school, the assignment I'm in now, we had a web page. I helped design that. And then I told my technology person, I said, you know what? We're going to have a Twitter site. And I went in and put the Twitter site, and I said, I want the Twitter site on the web page. So that gave me an opportunity with our logo and everything to keep folks informed of what was going on within the school, put more positive quotes, so forth and so on there. Also, what it allows, I'm in the process of doing, is getting the electronic message boards, the TV screens in there where I can actually program messages. But where I'm going with all this is exactly what you said. Because social media has become such a role in our life.
That was sitting up there for a minute or two, sitting up there for days and weeks and months. They wanted something that was a minute or two old. So I did very much the same thing. I made our website relevant again, and I made it thanks to a lot of stakeholder engagement. We asked stakeholders, we asked our staff, our parents, teachers. What did they want? And they wanted things like quick links that got them to the most popular pages on our website. And they wanted the social media feed to be live on the other side, just as you did. So in my district, every day, a minimum of 2 tweets and 2 Facebook posts go out. And they include what are the activities for the day going on in the district, so anything major book fairs, photos, those type of things, presentations, assemblies, and what are the athletic events going on in the district. And then on top of that, we put up pictures, we put up lots of different things that are about Spotswood. So just give you one simple example. 3 weeks ago, we got a letter from a former student who sent us his letter he received from the superintendent 50 years ago when he started kindergarten. And we put that up on the website as a way of saying, celebrating our history in the district. And we also put up things like, Spirit Week is coming up. We'll be putting up lots of pictures associated with that. So we want our parents, we want our community members to see a window into the school and see the great things that are happening every day there. And the website has become that avenue to do it.
And, I'm so glad you said that. And I tell my guests all the time, one of the beauties of the show is talking to people and listening to different ideas. And I've taken on the Steve Jobs approach, whereas, I don't have a problem with stealing ideas. Steve Jobs said he didn't have a problem from stealing from Microsoft and Hewlett-Packard and all these folks. I was reading his book. And you just said something about hot links and quick links that I hadn't even thought about in terms of that's something I need to add to our website as well. the quick links. So just I heard you say that, and I just made a mental note. I got to get quick links on my website now. But one of the things, because you gentlemen know, all of you work in schools, one of the big things is called culture and climate, or climate and culture. And what social media has allowed us to do is exactly what Scott just said. It gave parents and other stakeholders the opportunity to be in our buildings even though they're not physically there. And that's, because one of the things we've really been working on is a lot of parents, a lot of time they feel intimidated to come into a school because, it's kind of like maybe or maybe not, you have the educational gap between the parent and the teachers and the administrators. So some of them feel a little bit intimidated to interact. So the social media site kind of leveled that playing field. Have you all found that same thing?
I'd have to say, yeah.
Absolutely. And, it's been a game changer. And you're talking about, strengthening a school
projector. So the example I've been using over the last couple of weeks is, let's say you're doing a lesson on pyramids. With Google Earth, you could actually put the kid in the pyramid. And I don't understand why many teachers don't think along those lines or those terms when they're doing their lesson planning. That they can bring a lot of these experiences. The kid does not have to get on a jet plane and go to Egypt to be in the period. We can go to Google Earth, and that will put us right there at the pyramids. That's what technology is.
Billy's the master with that, so he can speak
to
how
so
he
so
does
Billy,
all...
because you're in the classroom, am I correct?
Right.
So talk to us a little bit about, how do you maximize that with your students?
It's just a matter of connecting on Twitter and bringing in these people and trying to find the time in order to show my students that there's more than 4 walls and that you can go beyond the classroom to talk with people.
And, interestingly enough, because it is, you're right, beyond the 4 walls and beyond the textbook. Because in 2014, the textbook is just one.
Just a matter of talking with them and showing them sometimes.
So from your perspective, Billy, it would be with your colleagues, because are you supervision or are you still in the classroom?
I'm still in the classroom.
Okay, so for you, it would be your colleagues. Are all of your colleagues as tech savvy as you are?
Everyone has their different degree level.
Okay. And so for Brad and for Scott, how has it been working out in terms of getting your staff more comfortable with technology, or did they come to you comfortable with it?
Mark,
I think over the years, our staff in Chester, I can speak to Chester for the last 3 years, you have a veteran staff that is outstanding pedagogically speaking, and they were using technology, and I came on board and working together, with our Board of Ed and teachers and seeing what students' needs were in terms of technology integration. We built a plan together, and in fact, last week we just went 1-to-1 with Chromebooks, and because our staff is so willing to.
Well, I could not agree with you more. And it's funny you say that because on yesterday, we're actually cutting over or converting to online plan books. And I contacted the vendor, and we paid for the licenses and everything. And I just sent out the link to my entire staff yesterday saying, over the holiday weekend, play with this. While you're home, go in there and tool it around. Go in there and see, how it works. How can you put your lesson in there? Because ultimately where I'm trying to go is where the colleagues can share with each other an online plan book where they can look at best practices to see what's working for you. Maybe I can take some of that and it'll work for me. So it's interesting we're having this conversation because I'm constantly pushing more and more technology into my building because oddly enough, the title of my school is the Dr. Frank Napier Jr. School of Technology. And there wasn't a whole lot of technology. There was some when I got there, but we're steady increasing that bar, moving that bar higher and higher from a technology perspective. One of the things I want to talk about, and I need to share some information with the listening audience, and we're going to come right back, is how is all of this preparing us for Park? And because that's going to be an online assessment. I mean, because that's when we start talking 2014 in technology, even how we're testing children is about to move on the computer. So I'm going to share some information with the listening audience. Listening audience, get on your social media sites and let someone know that Brad, Scott, and Billy are on the air with me. That you need to hear this information because it is critical to the success of how we educate going forward. And I think, gentlemen, and we can talk a little bit about this when we come back too, a lot of people overlook and still think the Twitters and Facebooks and all that is just a novelty. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about Park when we come back. Let somebody know that Scott, Billy, and Brad are on the line with me, and we'll continue on.
Hey, what's up? Thinking about you. XOXOXO. Want to snuggle. ... JK. Hit me back. You getting these texts? ? We should hang later. I miss you. Holla at ya, boy. Holla back. Holla back.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearms storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is Stan Myers, and I'm here at FM 88.7. I do a jazz show called Just a Mood. And if you like the music, anything from Louis to Lester Bowie, I'm your man. That's Sunday afternoons, 3 to 6. Looking to hear from you, okay?
You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley on Brave New Radio.
That is correct. You're listening to the second part of a Reading Circle doubleheader. I have 3 guests on the line, and they're all educators. I have Brad Currie, author of the book All Hands on Deck. I have Scott R. Rocco, and I have Billy Krakower, and both of them, and all 3 of them rather, are a part of Satchat. As a matter of fact, gentlemen, if I saw one of your tweets, Satchat is about to kick off at 7:30.
2 minutes. 2-minute warning.
All right. So now, do you have the opportunity to kind of like tweet and talk to me, or do you need to drop off?
Nah, we can talk and tweet. We can multitask.
Oh, that's a wonderful thing. That's because that's what I generally do while I'm on the air on Saturday mornings with you. So to all the Sat Chatters, good morning to you. Any of the Sat Chat folks who have tuned in to hear Billy, Scott, and Brad, good morning to you. We're here live every Saturday morning where we interview authors. Usually kick off at 6 o'clock a.m., and then we kind of take it from there. And right before the information sharing, I'd asked the question in terms of how is all of this getting us set up for Park? And for the listening audience, if you wonder what Park is the equivalent of our state assessments that the kids took with pencil and paper that they will be now taking on the computer. So anyone wants to jump in on that question, jump right in.
Mark, I'm going to jump in. This is Scott. I'm going to jump in on the question from this perspective. First, you were talking before about technology in schools and teachers doing more with technology. And I have to say that we're making that transition, but we have to make that transition for the purpose of improving education. So any technology that we're integrating into our classrooms has to do 2 things. It has to improve our teachers' effectiveness in the classroom, and it has to enhance learning. So with that in mind, your issue on par. Any of the technology that we're implementing here is a way for our students to get adjusted to the new level of assessment, which will be all online. And we want to integrate more of the technology centers, whether they're during breakout sessions at elementary school when kids are working in small groups after the teacher has provided instruction on the topic and one of the centers is technology, or it's part of an activity in the high school as the kids are working on a specific topic.
Know the content well, plus I can't type. I might be sunk on that exam. So those are some of the concerns. I'm like, but Scott, you hit it right there. The technology is to improve the learning. So we're not just doing technology for the sake of technology because it's 2014. It ought to improve the students' learning. Now, I wanted to talk in terms of, we keep throwing this term stakeholder around, and everybody in the listening audience may not understand that term. I came out of the business world, and Brad, you said you're down in Chester. I actually did 15 years in Basking Ridge. I was working for AT&T. And so whenever I heard, as soon as I came into education and we were still using that term stakeholder, I knew exactly what we were talking about because we use that term in business, the stakeholders. But let's talk a little bit about how is stakeholder defined in the education world. Now, I know what it is because I'm an educator. You three know what it is because you're educators. But just for the listening audience, who are we talking about when we say stakeholder?
Yeah, I think we're talking about, parents, students, community members, Board of Education, administrators. It's everybody, and we're all in this together. It's a team effort, and I think the evolution of social media and technology has made it even more important that we all come together as a team, not only in a physical sense, but also in a virtual sense. And to me, that's what stakeholder engagement is all about. I wrote a blog post a few weeks ago called A Tweet That Changed Our Dinner Conversation. And my son's teacher actually tweets about the different things that are going on in her classroom. So as a parent, putting on my parent hat, I'm able to keep track of what's going on in my son's class on a daily basis based on the tweets she pushes out. Otherwise, we're sitting at the dinner table. I ask my son, hey, how's school? And he says, good.
His sites, Edmodo and things like that you can go to and do exactly what you said. I know when a child comes home and says, we didn't get homework tonight, like, hold it, let me go here. And I can see what your teacher has posted. And it really is. And the funny thing about our children is, for kids who are like born now or 2 or 3 years old, I mean, I've seen 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds manipulate an iPad like it's unreal. A letter, but you can do it in a video. So we have all these things that we can access, and that's why it sounds like your book is putting together tips or either thoughts on how we can do that. Am I correct?
Absolutely. There's, my own story of how, I've leveraged the power of social media and technology to activate stakeholder engagement. But I also share stories of educators that I've been fortunate enough to be in contact with over the last couple of years, solely because of my being on Twitter. I would not know these people had it not been for Twitter. And I'm able to, over the last couple of years, connect with these people both in the virtual sense and at educational conferences and just listen to all the great things that they are doing. And so I shared some of those stories. In particular with Billy and Scott, and you go to Daisy Dyer-Doer out in Arkansas and the great things she's doing there in the rural part of the country, to people like Jay Graham in Indonesia and Derek McCoy down in North Carolina. And so it's just an amazing time to be in education. I also share a story about Currie Jackson, who's a principal down in Texas, and how she uses Instagram to connect with stakeholders and tell her school story through photos very successfully. So it's just unbelievable. 10 years ago, I never thought we would be in this position as schools to be able to tell our story and to connect with stakeholders on a daily basis.
I agree, because it's funny. I'm watching the news with my wife, but where I'm going with this is the social media is real time. And when you put it out there, and this is what we try to help share with the kids as well, in terms of once you put something online, there is no such thing as getting it back. Because just like we can use social media positively, we also can use it negatively. That's where we get cyberbullying and things like that. So talk to me a little bit about that. Have you had the experience with folks misusing the social media?
Mark, we've had experience both the positive and the negative. And I think when you start to engage in social media, you need to understand that with the good comes the bad. I taught a PD session to a bunch of administrators, the good, the bad, and the ugly of social media, to talk a little bit about, there's a lot of positive that can come out of this, but if you don't set some parameters, there's going to be some negative also. And that's where a big push on both Billy, Brad, and my part is on digital citizenship. And as much as our students today grow up with the technology, they're native technology users, it's our responsibility as educators, as parents, as community members to teach them how to use that technology for educational purposes and how to use it properly. Like you said, stuff doesn't go away. Your digital footprint is in concrete. It's not in sand, so a wave can't wipe it out. It's there. It's permanent. And so we have to teach students, we have to teach ourselves, we have to teach our stakeholders how to use technology and social media properly for the right uses and how to put things out that are positive. That's why Satchat is a positive and progressive educational conversation, and that's how it started and that's how it stayed. It's there to make sure that we can get the good news out about education, talk about tough topics, but also address them in a way that is positive and can create a change in education.
No question. And that, again, is so important in terms of spreading the word, spreading the message, connecting with each other. Now, how did Satchat begin? And are there more? Because either there are more Satchats out there. I don't know if there's a West Coast one, because I know a principal, Rosa Azaya. I don't know if she's a part of yours or if they have one on the West Coast or what have you. But kind of talk to me about how did Satchat begin?
Sure. Satchat began in 2012, in the spring of 2012. Scott and I were, fairly new to social media, and we somehow connected on Twitter, and we realized that there was somewhat of a void for, educators to connect on, particularly on Saturday mornings. So I believe Scott came up with the idea, hey, let's do like a Saturday morning chat. And then we were bouncing ideas around, and we came up with Satchat. And the first Satchat took place in April of 2012. We had about 26 people participate. You fast forward to October 2014, and right now, we're looking online here on Twitter. We average around 400 participants from 7:30 to 8:30 every Saturday morning. And over the years, we have grown. We have the Satchat WC hashtag, where Darren Jolly and Shelley Burgess and David Koberhaus from out in California and Texas, they moderate the chat at 7:30 Pacific Standard Time in the morning. And we also then expanded about a year or so ago to Oceania, to the other part of the world, with Andrea Stringer and Jay Graham with the Satchat OC hashtag. And actually, they are ahead of us, so their chat actually is on Friday night if you're looking at Eastern Standard Time. So technically, they kind of kick off the whole Satchat weekend. And then we're looking to expand down the road here with a Spanish version of Satchat with Rosa Isaiah and a few others. It's probably going to debut in early 2015. And we're also looking to expand to the Middle East with Holly Fairbrother as well. So it's very exciting, and it's just it's amazing to think how this has grown over the years. And then Billy Krakower, who's on the line with us here, joined us just about a year or maybe.
One that kicks off in the time zone that's ahead of us on Friday night, and I'm sitting there like, wow, something as simple as a few of us getting together and wanting to talk. The other thing that came to mind was listening here for the listening audience. Many times they think we as educators are just kind of like banker's hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 3. We go home and we do nothing else. And this chat is on 7:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Now, these are educators that are dedicated and up in whatever time zone they're in, that are participating about discussions on best practices of how we do things better to educate our children. And see, again, that's the type of things that people don't hear about whenever they're lambasting educators that, oh, they got their summers off, they got all these holidays, they get off at 3 o'clock, they all in the yada, yada, yada about educators. Initiatives such as this, where educators are up early trying to talk about best practices, we don't hear about. So how are you getting the word out there, and how do people? Is it a list that you can join, or how do you join it? Because I know you have the hashtag, but is it something that you like? If you want to become, how do folks know what's happening? What's the next Satchat and so forth and so on?
Billy's the expert in that area. He can touch base on that with you.
Billy, you still with us? Did Billy get dropped?
He might have dropped off there, Mark, but I'll fill in for a second until he gets back on the line here.
Okay.
We put a lot of information out through Twitter using the hashtag Satchat. We also have a Voxer group, which Voxer is an app for your phone, and what happens is the conversation carries on all week long now, and what we have some moderators that take care of that for us, and they ask each one of the questions over a period of days, so Sunday through Friday. They ask the 6 questions, one each day. We post it through blog posts. We talk about the things that are coming up. We put it out on a Facebook page. We do a lot of those promotional things to get people interested in this, because if you think about it, and you said it, people don't think about educators getting up at 7:30 in the morning and start to talk about education. Even my family says, "Why are you getting up so early?" And because it's exciting. It's
right.
It's an enthusiastic conversation among educators who really care about making a difference in the lives of children and their subject area, their schools, their communities, and such great ideas get expanded. Just, you and I talking about websites, and now you're thinking about a quick link. Well, a lot of ideas that we get come from other educators because they're doing great things, and we need to hear those great things so that we can try and do similar things in our schools to improve the educational environment. There's a lot of negativity about our profession.
Yes.
But if you join a conversation on a Saturday morning or during the week when some of these other state educational chats go on, you never know it, because the educators are very positive, and we're looking to do the right thing.
So in terms of when you need to address, like you said, you had 400 folks that were already tapped in this morning. When you need to address all 400 of them at one time, is there a list or something that you go to say, we're going to, or you just expect them to go to the blog or a tweet site or what have you? That's what I'm saying. How do you get to the body like in one shot?
The Satchat hashtag. So hashtag Satchat will get to anybody who is interested in the topic. So right now, if you filter through the conversation, you follow what's happening on Saturday morning. So we have people from all over the United States and actually all over the world. Last week we had about 9 or 10 different countries participating, and the majority of states in the United States over an hour and a half time period had used the Satchat hashtag on Saturday morning.
So it's just a matter of accessing the hashtag. And then and everybody will populate or what have you, or they'll see it, or anybody that's involved with it once they see sending my guests to appear on the show. And again, in terms of keeping parents informed of what's going on in the school, in terms of school board members, in terms of community members, in terms of, because these are the various stakeholders that we're talking about, and they all play a role. And in some way, we're connected or either answer to each other in terms of making the lives better for our students. And that's why, conversations such as this, and interestingly enough, one of you, Scott or Brad, you talked about being able to talk to educators around the world. Educators are also known for being in a silo mode. In other words, as a teacher, I close my door and I do what I want to do. I do my own thing. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And where we really tried to move to, and social media and the technology has helped this, is breaking down those silos to share best practices. That's why I was saying earlier, I'm trying to get my staff to move to the online plan book so that they can see each other's plans. But the technology and the social media is helping us to break down the silos. Can you talk a little bit about that silo mentality and how social media may be impacting that? Either one of you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just amazing, how people are sharing now. I'm a firm believer, the more we share best practices from our classroom.
Well, you know what? If it works for me, I don't want it to work for anybody else. We need to have the spirit and the attitude of, you know what? Hey, this worked for me. You want to give it a try. Give it a try. If it doesn't work for you, fine. But if it does and it improves what you're doing with the children, then feel free to use it. That's where I'm trying to get us to go in terms of drop this selfish mentality, because the truth of the matter is, in education nowadays, especially with all the accountability that's being levied on us, there is no such thing as individual success or individual failure. Either we all pull together and make it as the team, or we're all going to die as the team. And that's where people need to, just because your grade level progressed on NJ Ask and the rest of the grade levels didn't, doesn't give you that much right to stand there with your chest poked out, because on the whole, the school still failed, and vice versa. If the bulk of your grade levels were proficient or advanced proficient on a New Jersey Ask or Park or whatever, and one grade level didn't make it, your school still, for the most part, didn't make it, because you have a grade level that was still behind. And it is all about the kids, as we keep saying. So if you have folks that are partial proficient or non-proficient or grade levels or in language arts and math or whatever the content area may be that didn't make it, you're still not a success. And though you all know that the various subgroups, even though the bulk of your school can make it, just one or two subgroups could drag you back down, because we really want every child to succeed. So, again, and that's where the all hands on deck to me just comes to mind, that we need everybody. So talk to me a little bit about your experiences with that in terms of the individualistic thinking versus the collective thinking. And again, that's the one either one of you can jump in on, because I don't know if Billy joined us again.
Brad could speak to that, because he really addresses it in his book, and I think he hits the nail on the head when he writes about it.
So, Brad,
thanks, Scott, for your support, buddy. I always appreciate it.
And that's good, because we're down to the point where you can promo the book. We're down to the last few minutes of the interview, and this is the time where you can promo and let folks know how they can get the book. Again, give another synopsis of it, websites, where you're going to be. Again, promote Satchat. So I'm going to give you that time to do all that while you have the microphone. But to that question of how does All Hands on Deck address that whole thing of moving away from individual to collective?
Absolutely, yeah. It is collective. I did a webinar the other day on EdWeb, and I shared a story. And again, this is coming back to connections. I was at an ASCD Emerging Leader Conference over the summer. Myself and Billy were named ASCD Emerging Leaders for 2014.
Congratulations.
And we were down in D.C. over the summer, and we connected with a teacher from Texas, Allison Hogan. And she, I shared this in the webinar, she uses an app called the Photo Circle app in her classroom. It's an app you can set up for your classroom, and people can join privately, meaning the parents, and they can experience what the day is like for their child through pictures. And she'll share pictures on this Photo Circle app. And so you're talking about, being in isolation and not sharing anything, to using technology and an app to tell you.
They can get in contact with you if they want to learn more about accessing or maximizing social media. This is your chance, Brad, to promote All Hands on Deck as much as you can. The only thing you can't say is the cost of the book, but in terms of where it is, how they can get in touch with you, this is your moment.
Yeah, it's $1 million to buy the book. No, I'm kidding. All Hands on Deck.
Well, if the content is worth it, that's right.
You can purchase it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Corwin.com. It's part of the Connected Educator series. Just some amazing educators from around the country, around the world, wrote a series of 7 or 8 books. You can buy it now, and it's just an amazing series. You can find out more about me. You can connect with me on my website, www.bradcurrie.net. You can follow me on Twitter @BradMCurrie. And
it's something that a lot of people are still not familiar with, and hopefully it's growing and people are understanding the power of it. A couple things going on with me on October 21st. I'll actually be in Alaska. I'm giving a keynote speech on telling our story through social media. and I'll be speaking at the Alaskan Principals Conference up in Anchorage. In November, I believe it's November 20th or 21st, Brad, myself, and Billy will be at NJPSA teaching a class on social media and preparing for the park, what resources teachers and administrators can use to help get their students ready for park. And we'll be doing a Google certification boot camp in December. It's a 2-day, 2 Saturdays, December 6th and 13th, and we'll also be doing Satchat at those times before the boot camp kicks off. But it's all the training that you need to get ready to be
a friend of mine who we co-moderate NJ Ed Chat on Tuesday nights at 8:30, Dana Saradiak, and her and I will be talking about how Twitter can be used as professional development for teachers. And also, I'll throw in a plug for Ed Camp New Jersey, which is November 22nd at Linman Middle School.
Well, gentlemen, I thank you for stopping by the Reading Circle, and this has been a fascinating topic. And again, at this point, with all the social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, I use that to my advantage, and I'm looking to maximize it even more. And I feel like I know all of you from seeing you online on Saturday mornings as you go through the various topics on Satchat. To all of those of you who have tuned in from Satchat, good morning to you. Many of your faces and names I know as well, as I see it scroll up with the Satchat hashtag. So if you've chosen to tune in this morning because Billy, Brad, and Scott were on the air with me, good morning to you. You're welcome to tune in any Saturday morning if you're up early, or if you want to listen in while you're chatting as well, you're welcome to do that. But I do welcome you to our listening audience. And the three of you, fascinating topic and conversation. I wish you nothing but the best.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Now, you all have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. I know you still got Satchat going on for another half hour or so. So have a wonderful time, and we'll be in touch because, again, ultimately, I generally get an opportunity, particularly if you're in the East or the New Jersey, New York area. At some point, our paths do cross. So, or maybe we'll just have to make them cross. But I thoroughly have enjoyed putting voices to faces. And again, as I said, I wish you absolutely nothing but the best as we try to make lives better for the students that we serve.
Well, look forward to meeting you in person.
All right. All right. Take care now. Happy Satchatting.
See you, Mark. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care now.